Hello and welcome to Firstpost Spotlight, where we bring you the stories that matter to you from all across the world. From breaking news to the day's biggest controversies, we shed light on issues that shape our world. I'm Alison Lagrange, live from Durban, South Africa. Let's begin with the top headlines. The Asian markets rout, European stocks plunge as global sell-off intensifies due to Trump's tariffs, with Frankfurt down 10% and Paris and London losing over 6%. Emmanuel Macron holds talks with Egyptian President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi in Cairo, opposing displacement of Palestinians and the annexation of Gaza. French president says Hamas should have no part in governing the Gaza Strip. The United States and Ukraine are set to restart talks on a potential minerals deal, as Kiev says it is sending a delegation to Washington this week. And the United States Air Force and Philippines kick off joint exercises aimed at strategic deterrence amid disputes with Beijing over the South China Sea. And North Korea hosts its first international marathon in 6 years, with hundreds of runners, including foreign athletes, racing through the streets of the capital, Pyongyang. Hello and welcome. We begin with the latest from Gaza. A newly released video is challenging Israel's claims about the deaths of 15 Palestinian medics and emergency respondents last month. The disturbing footage is from the phone of one of the medics who was killed on the 23rd of March. It shows the convoy of ambulances and aid vehicles driving in southern Gaza, with their emergency lights flashing and their logos clearly visible. Now, despite this, Israeli soldiers opened fire and killed the workers, including 8 Red Crescent personnel, 6 Gaza Civil Defence staff, and a UN worker. The video footage contradicts Israel's previous claims that the vehicles were approaching, quote-unquote, suspiciously without proper signaling. The video from the attack site shows vehicles clearly marked and medics completely unarmed. The medics are also seen pulling up calmly, preparing to help an ambulance that had been previously shot at. Now, just as the medics move toward the isolated ambulance, they come under heavy fire. The footage continues for more than 5 minutes, with the paramedic, named as Rafat Radwan, heard saying his last prayers before the voices of Israeli soldiers are heard approaching the vehicles. Listen in.
يا رب تقبلني شهيدا يا الله وتب علي. يا رب تقبلني وتب علي. يما سامحيني يما. هذه هي الطريقة اللي اخترتها يما، إني أساعد الناس. سامحيني يما سامحيني، والله ما قبلت هذا الطريق ده لأساعد الناس. يا رب تب علي، يا رب إن كتبتني من الشهداء تقبلني. يا رب أعرف إن أنا مذنب قاطع في صلاتك. تقبلني يا رب الناس. يا رب تقبلني يا رب. لا حول استغفر واتوب اليك. اجعلنا الذين يدين في السماء.
The Israel Defense Forces insist that at least 6 of the medics were linked to Hamas, but so far it has provided no evidence to prove its claim. Israel admits they were unarmed when the soldiers opened fire. After they were killed, the bodies of the fallen workers were buried by Israeli soldiers. It took over a week for the international rescue teams to retrieve the bodies, as they were unable to access the area due to the ongoing state of war. Following the release of the video, Israel has admitted that its initial account of the attack was inaccurate. The Israeli Defense Forces have promised to conduct a thorough investigation. But the international community, including the Palestinian Red Crescent and the United Nations, are calling for an independent inquiry into those killings. The deaths of medics in conflict zones are particularly alarming because they violate international law, which protects medical personnel and facilitates this during war. Under the Geneva Convention, medical teams are to be spared from attack and should be allowed to go about their work without interference. Now, the killing of these 15 workers has raised critical questions about the treatment of medical professionals during the conflict. As the investigation into this incident continues, it is critical that the facts be brought to light and accountability is ensured. This is a developing story, and we will continue to bring you the updates as more details emerge. And keeping our focus on West Asia, where Iran and the United States continue to be on a confrontation path. In the latest, West Asia's lone Shia powerhouse issued a stark warning to the U.S. allies in the Gulf, telling them not to allow the use of their territory in any potential American military action against the Islamic Republic. Reports citing a senior Iranian official says that Tehran would consider any support for a U.S. attack by its Gulf allies an act of hostility. The Iranian official claimed that the Islamic Republic has issued what he called notices to Iraq, Kuwait, the United Arab Emirates, Qatar, Turkey, and Bahrain against allowing the United States to use their territories to attack Iran. The official warned that any support to the U.S. by these countries would have, quote-unquote, serious consequences. Now, according to the publicly available data, the U.S. has a total of 12 military bases in these countries, and Washington maintains them to protect the security interests of its allies in the region. All of these bases are in the countries in Iran's neighborhood, which have signed security treaties with the U.S. Tehran's stark warning comes days after U.S. President Donald Trump warned the country to join direct nuclear negotiations or else face American attacks. Tehran says that its forces remain on high alert to respond to any potential American attack. Despite the American president's most direct threats of an attack, Iran has rejected his call for direct talks over the issue of acquiring nuclear weapons. Instead, Iran says it is willing to pursue indirect negotiations through Oman, a longtime mediator between Iran and the U.S. Now, Tehran says through indirect negotiations, it is looking to evaluate Washington's sincerity about finding a political solution to the nuclearization issue. Iran's intents on indirect negotiations and Trump's determined call for nothing but direct talks with Tehran has put the U.S. and Iran ties on an even more volatile path. Now, the warning from Iran has also added to the already tense atmosphere in the region amid the ongoing conflicts in Gaza, Lebanon, and Yemen. At the same time, America's allies in the region also remain on edge about the prospect of further escalation of U.S.-Iran tensions, especially in the strategically crucial Gulf, which is home to a significant portion of the world's oil supplies. For now, Tehran says there remains a 2-month window during which Oman-mediated talks with the U.S. could help avert further conflict. However, the clock is ticking, with growing fears of Israel acting unilaterally if negotiations stall, and also the looming threat of renewed international sanctions if Iran further accelerates its nuclear enrichment. And moving on, we bring you a concerning development from Japan involving a marvel of engineering that is now facing a formidable challenge. 30 years ago, the Kansai International Airport was hailed as a groundbreaking feat of construction. A unique airport built on 2 artificial islands in Osaka Bay, serving Japan's bustling second-largest metropolitan city. Now, this project, which was worth more than $19 billion, was designed to be a vital hub for major airlines, like All Nippon Airways, Japan Airlines, and Nippon Cargo Airlines. But today, this ambitious creation is battling a relentless force of nature. It is sinking, and that too at an alarming rate. Reports indicate that the Kansai International Airport has already sunk more than 38 feet since its construction. Experts now express serious apprehension, with some predicting that sections of these artificial islands could sink another 13 feet, potentially reaching sea level by the year 2056. The minimum elevation required to prevent flooding in the event of a seawall breach is 13 feet. While engineers predict that Kansai's island would evenly settle over 50 years before stabilizing at 13 feet above sea level, the current pace of sinking is causing significant worry. In a bid to combat this threat, over $150 million were spent to raise the seawall. However, some experts believe that this may be a futile attempt against the inevitable geological forces at play. The very foundation of the airport lies on land reclaimed from the sea. Now, this land, initially described as being like a wet sponge, underwent a complex transformation. Construction crews laid deep layers of sand and installed millions of vertical pipes to create a denser and drier base that was capable of supporting the immense weight of the airport infrastructure. Adding to its woes, Kansai Airport has also been repeatedly battered by extreme weather conditions. The devastating Typhoon Jebi in 2018 caused widespread havoc, temporarily closing the airport and stranding thousands of passengers as floodwaters inundated the facilities. Despite these significant challenges, Kansai International Airport remains a crucial gateway for Osaka and a vital hub for numerous airlines. Its continued operation is essential for the region's economy and connectivity. The future of Kansai International Airport remains uncertain. While engineers and authorities grapple with the ongoing sinking, the world watches to see how this remarkable yet vulnerable island airport will navigate this unprecedented crisis. And in the heart of Britain's second largest city, there's a stinking crisis, quite literally. Once known for its industrial revolution pride, Birmingham is now making headlines for very different reasons. Rats, rubbish, and a city-wide standstill that smells worse than it sounds. With bin bags stacking up like modern art installations and pest controllers working overtime, the city's current garbage debacle has become the talk of the UK, and certainly not in a good way. Now, the residents of the city aren't too thrilled about the situation. They are not mincing their words. One resident said, and I quote, "There's rubbish everywhere, rats everywhere, bigger than cats." Now, business for pest controllers has hit an all-time high. Ever since the strike began, calls for pest controllers at homes and people finding rats in their homes has shot up around 50%. Sanitation workers in the UK are on strike since December last year, and due to this, some 17,000 metric tons of garbage now decorate Birmingham's streets. One worker said, and I quote, "The smell is absolutely unbelievable. You've got rotting food, you've got maggots on the floor crawling out of bags." So what exactly triggered this trash tsunami? Well, nearly 400 waste workers walked off the job after the City Council axed a role called the Waste Recycling and Collection Officer, introduced pay cuts and a ban on overtime. According to reports, this move blocks workers from pay progression and could slash salaries by nearly $10,000 a year. To compensate, officials reportedly provided workers with alternative employment at the same pay, like driver training or voluntary redundancy. But the union workers aren't buying this. The workers feel that the government doesn't seem to care. Meanwhile, city streets have turned into trash-themed obstacle courses. They are complete with squadrons of cats nervously eyeing the suspiciously large rats. Now, what started as intermittent action turned indefinite in early March, and by late March, Birmingham City Council was forced to declare a major incident over the garbage pile-ups. Now, according to the council, uncollected garbage in Birmingham jumped from 483 tonnes a day in the week of the 10th of March to 655 tonnes a day by the 17th of March, reaching nearly 900 tonnes a day by the 24th of March. A city with over 1 million residents now doesn't know what to do with their trash, and this rubbish isn't going anywhere soon. Birmingham's garbage crisis is more than just a sanitation issue. It's a symbol of deepening tensions between austerity-era councils and essential workers demanding fair pay. While the city scrambles to control a literal and metaphorical mess, the big question is, will Birmingham clean up its act or continue to let it rot? Either way, the rats are having a field day. And that's all we have on the show for today. We will see you again tomorrow at the same time. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned to Firstpost.
From breaking news to the day's biggest controversies, shedding light on the world's top headlines, detailed analysis on the stories that matter the most to you. Catch it all on Spotlight at 6 p.m. India time and 12:30 GMT, only on Firstpost.